Well, the future of Sussex I think, is pretty grim. I think that they're on a permanent decline. But they will, whenever they need money, whenever they need publicity to stoke their reputation, they'll drop another little bomb. I mean, we're still waiting, of course, for Meghan's own autobiography, which I'm sure she is penning. She is a good writer, and it'll be filled with vitriol and filled with lies. I mean, she will not tell the truth because she wants sensational headlines. That is the ultimate weapon she can deploy. But I just think that the royal family at the moment here in London is a bit sad. I mean, the illnesses, of course, have undermined their attraction, undermined their visibility. And that, of course, what grieves me most is, of course, that pleases Meghan and Harry. They are the epitome of good health. And there's Charles and Camilla and, of course, Kate, all unwell. And that, of course, is a great tragedy for us.
Well, they have been quiet. I mean, I don't remember Meghan saying anything for months and months and months, possibly last year, maybe. I mean, she's been incredibly quiet. Can we give them some kind of credit here? Have they reined in their attacks because they understand that the King and Princess of Wales are seriously unwell?
No, I don't think so at all. I think that she's allowed Harry to make the running. I mean, she is reserving herself for her autobiography. It's much better for her to be seen as the silent princess or duchess, the silent weapon in reserve. I mean, Harry, after all, has said some pretty unfortunate things when he came across and didn't see his father on his way to Nigeria. But Nigeria said it all. The visit to Nigeria, you didn't need words from Meghan to say what it was all about. It was about, we are the royal family in a Commonwealth country, the most important probably in Africa. And that said it all. It was a brilliant coup. Put the British royal family, our royal family, into a very, very difficult position, intentionally so. And that unfortunate occurrence is, again, the palace should never have agreed. They should have lobbied the Nigerians not to allow the Sussexes to come because, of course, they were upstaged in a vitally important Commonwealth country.
So spinning it forward, are you concerned? Because I'm led to believe that they will do more of these trips. You know, this suited them because I was at the Invictus Games last September and the Nigerian Defence Minister turned up and he sat at the front with Harry and Meghan. I think this is where it all started, their trip to Nigeria, because Meghan had said she was a certain percentage Nigerian heritage. What are the pitfalls that they could fall in? Or what's the problems they can cause to the royal family if they end up having more royal tours around the world?
Well, of course they will, as the royal family, because of Charles's and Kate's illnesses, are unable to travel as much as they would like or travel at all. The presence of Meghan and Harry in Commonwealth countries will be absolutely damaging to the royal family. And that, of course, is a serious problem because, after all, Anne can't travel and, William rightly feels he should be with his own children and wife. So it's very difficult. The only question is whether the British Foreign Office and Number 10 can persuade Commonwealth countries not to host Meghan and Harry because it's damaging.
In what way is it damaging, Tom?
Well, it's damaging because they appear as royals. They appear as representatives of the British royal family, and they're not.
Like a rival royal court, so
exactly, and they're not. They are doing it for their own self-promotion, to profit from their association with the royal family, the same royal family who they deserted and have humiliated and have damaged. And that's the problem, that Meghan delights in this. But what's interesting is that she's really so unpopular. Despite her unpopularity in America now, and obviously in England, she still manages always to create, understandably, a furor when she travels. And that is her intention, because she loves the spotlight. Everything is geared to her self-promotion.
Well, the self-promotion was always going to be the problem. So, when the late Queen signed off on the Megxit agreement, it was that they couldn't use the royal titles to make themselves money. They couldn't use HRH. They couldn't use Sussex Royal. That was the key, the key settlement, part of the settlement that really stopped them from doing what they wanted to do. Do you feel, therefore, that they are pushing the boundaries and that maybe, they are overstepping the line and maybe the King needs to step in again?
Well, I think there are two things there. First of all, the problem is that they betrayed. They actually, in the end, ignored the agreement that they settled on, because allegedly they're going to California for privacy and to leave the royal family. And they've done the exact opposite. But I think part of the problem has been the weakness of the king. He should never have agreed for their children to get royal titles after the Queen's death. And he should have stripped them of their titles and actually made a declaration that they're no longer representatives or members of the royal family. But Charles prevaricated. He's terrified of, in any way, creating new enemies, so to speak. But I think as well, Charles has behaved weakly because he feels guilt. He feels guilt that Harry keeps on repeating that his great misery and just self-destruction has been the death of his mother and how appalling that has been. But I mean, Harry doesn't understand his own mother, and Charles understandably feels the guilt whatever he does, because obviously he wasn't a great husband to Diana, and wasn't a great father either when he abandoned Harry and William very often at weekends to go and meet Camilla.
Well, that's always the problem I find when I'm talking about the royal family, is that, you know, they're not politicians. This is a family, so the dynamic is father and son. So although, you know, we talk about the kind of impact on the country or the impact on the royals, it is a family dynamic where he's still Harry's father, and you know, they're bonds, you know, between a father and son that, you know, you can only understand if you're a father yourself or a son yourself. So that relationship between them kind of undermines every decision that the king makes. So I kind of, you know, in your book, interestingly, we'll get onto it, on Rebel Prince, you do paint quite an unfavourable portrait of the king. I personally think, since the king's taken over, I've changed my mind on him. I was a little bit nervous about him, and I think he's doing a wonderful job, and I've kind of come round to him after kind of seeing him in action. What's your thoughts on the king since he's taken over? Have you changed your mind from, as I say, well, many people think was an unfavourable portrait of him in your book?
Well, my book, Rebel Prince, now called Rebel King, was very unflattering about Charles. I mean, his period as king, as prince, has been most unfortunate. There are many, many things which he did which were disastrous. I think he learned from the book, funnily enough. Yeah. I think that he changed after the book came out and exposed so many of the wrongdoings which he'd done, whether it's about loyalty, whether it's about money, whether it's about the way he travelled, about some of his passions, like, for example, natural medicine, I mean, alternative medicine. All these things he changed his attitude on. And, of course, he was rightly praised for his environmental stuff, although when it came to architecture, although I think it was right, the way he went about it was very wrong. But, I mean, I think the point about it is that Charles became king and everyone wanted him to succeed, because we are monarchists and we want the monarchy to succeed. Therefore, everyone had to get behind Charles and hope that he'd be very careful and not make the same mistakes he'd made as prince.